evening, everybody. This is Anthony from Amped Airsoft, and we have a Pleb to Pro on how to use your JAK FCU. It's really simple, but I'm sure some of you need to know what's going on. Alright guys, so now we've zoomed in on my ugly hands. Ta-da! And we're going to show you your JAK FCU. If you look, it's very, very similar to your Polar Star FCU from your Fusion engine. On purpose for manufacturing reasons. Keeps it nice and easy. But this FCU has different firmware and different programming in it that is very specific to the JAK. And probably the F1, though we have yet to get one yet, so we'll check that out as soon as we get one. So first things first, when the FCU is plugged in and it's in your gun, it's going to be set on shot mode. To enter its programming mode, you're just going to have to press down on the little joystick once, boop, and it should say safe. Roger that, it says safe. I also have to, sorry if I have to tilt it, I can't really see it. So it'll say safe mode, and then from there you can go into your programming. Some general things about the JAK. First thing is that it will operate between 40 and 130 PSI. Do not exceed the manufacturer specs for your pressure. Don't do it. You'll probably blow it up, and that's bad. So we don't want to die, so let's just not do it. In order to start accessing all your various program modes, what you're going to do is you're going to flick the stick left or right in order to get it to change. The first thing you're going to see is your F1 setting. Your F1 setting is the revision of your FCU, so what programming set it has. This is 00. So that means that this is the very first iteration of this FCU. It hasn't had any programming tweaks or any updates to it yet. If you go up or down just by flicking the stick, this right here is your hexadecimal code that gives you your shot counter. So what you need to do is you need to go look up the hexadecimal code, and you can figure out how many shots you've had on this FCU before you've done a factory reset. In order to do a factory reset, all you do is unplug the battery while you're holding the joystick down and plug it back in and zero it out. But I'm not going to do that right now, so we're just going to keep rolling. The next setting on your FCU is your full auto setting. Right here. Your full auto setting is where you set your burst settings. So you can go from full auto to 0.9 all the way down to 0.1. Setting it to 0.1 gives it a one-shot burst, effectively making your gun semi-auto and semi-auto. And then your bursts are basically in correspondence to what number you pick. So if you pick a 9, it's a 9-shot burst. If you pick 3, it's a 3-shot burst, and that's just how it's going to go. So it's super easy peasy to set what your burst is. So right now we're just going to go ahead and we'll take it to 3. We'll set it to a 3-round burst. Our next setting is our Poppet Dwell. Once again, that's just by flicking the stick over. It's your DP setting. The Poppet Dwell varies. The Poppet Dwell variable controls how long the power is applied to the solenoid and allows the adjustment of gas volume released through the nozzle. Basically, the higher that value is, the longer air is allowed to flow, and the dwell is set in 0.1 millisecond increments. So a tenth of a millisecond it's very fast. But so you're looking at very small, minute adjustments to zone in on where you want it to roll. Your next setting is going to be your rate of fire setting. Once again, you just flick your stick. Your RF setting. So on your RF setting, this is your variable rate of fire, and it adjusts the cyclic rate of your system. Basically, how this is set is your rate of fire is exactly what it says per second. So I have an RF right here of 17. That means it's going to shoot that 3-shot burst at 17 rounds a second. So if it was on full auto, it would be shooting at 17 rounds a second. The maximum that this FCU can go up to is 99. So you can feasibly set this to run at 99 rounds a second, but you'll never find anything that'll feed that or anything like that. Usually maximum effective rates of fire are probably going to be around 40 rounds a second. That's probably going to be pushing it right there. Mostly just because magazines and stuff just won't feed. Next step is you got your DB setting. This is your debounce threshold. The debounce threshold is used to filter electrical noise from the trigger switch and prevent trigger bounce. The setting basically adjusts the minimum time that must elapse after the trigger is released before the next trigger pull is processed. Recommended is exactly where it is. You don't need to mess with this unless you just have some really janky wiring or some really bad batteries or crap like that. Which, in all honesty, like, if you're dealing with stuff like that, you should probably be getting it replaced anyways, because it's going to fail on you. So you do not need to adjust the setting, but it is there to compensate for bad wiring and bad electrical systems. Your next setting is your auto switch mode, or your AS setting. Basically, all this does is it reverses the functions of the semi-auto and the full auto selector switches. So basically, if you have it on semi, it's now on full auto if you turn it on, and on auto, it's on semi-auto. It's for guns that have weird selector placement. So if you have like issues with like guns that have like backward selector plates or anything that are weird like that, that's how you do it. Our next setting is our IS setting, or our anti-stiction setting. The anti-stiction setting is a timeout countdown timer that enables the anti-stiction pulse when the timer reaches 0. It's set in 7.5 second increments, with the timer automatically resetting after every shot. Basically, it's so that you can time up your semi-auto shots, basically. Then we have our anti-stiction pulse. That's our PE setting. The anti-stiction pulse is added to the poppet dwell when the anti-stiction timeout has elapsed. This is used to counter static friction, or stiction. In many other cases, it's not needed and can be turned off by setting it to 0-0. Generally, don't touch with this. Basically, just leave it alone. If you don't understand that sentence, just don't mess with it. The next setting is a setting that I preach about all of the time. This is one of your most important settings on your FCUs for your Polar Stars that people always forget to use. They always forget this setting because it doesn't mess with your poppet, it doesn't affect how the gun shoots. But it's so important. This is your LiPo balance section, alright? Basically what this does is it turns the FCU into a LiPo battery monitor, and it displays a low battery warning on the LCD display when the measured voltage drops below a predetermined threshold. It's basically set on the battery pack voltage. So if you leave it on 0-0, it's not going to detect low voltage, and it could kill your LiPos. It could kill these mini LiPos, especially these awesome Amped Airsoft branded ones. Product placement. Boo! But if you leave it off, it's not going to detect when the battery is dropping low, and it's going to kill your LiPo and run it dry. If you set it to 2, that's for a 7.4 volt battery, because it has 2 cells. These batteries have 2 cells that are folded over each other. You set it to 3, that's for an 11.1. So if you have 11.1 batteries, set it to 3. 7.4, set it to 2. Everybody forgets the setting, and then they ruin these little batteries all the time, and then they wonder why they're doing it. If you set that setting, you're way less likely to destroy your batteries. Alright guys, so this has been a Pleb to Pro on how to use your Polar Star JAK FCU. It's very simple. All of this stuff can be found in your manual. This dude right here, read it. I laid it out to you so it's easy, but you should probably read this. It's pretty important. It has a lot of things on how to adjust your pressure, where the maximum tolerances are of the system. Very smart to read it. But if you guys have attention problems, I made it in a video for you so that you can at least know what's going on. Anyways, this has been Anthony for Amped Airsoft. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Vine, Snapchat, Tumblr. There's all kinds of stuff. So anyways, see you guys later. Have a good night.